it now.
And it's almost time to say goodbye to 2017, which I'll always remember as the year the Take Me Through It podcast was born. The response to the podcast has been overwhelming, and I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, subscribing, and telling your friends about us. As 2018 nears, we're taking a look back at some of our favorite episodes from 2017, and this time in honor of Giancarlo Stanton joining my beloved Yankees. Here's the story of how I became a Yankees fan, in spite of the fact that I grew up in a Red Sox family in the heart of Red Sox Nation.
Take Me Through It is made possible by people like you. Thank you for downloading, listening, and subscribing. And leave us a comment on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you.
It's the middle of summer, so let's talk baseball. Specifically, let's talk about the New York Yankees.
Moving over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
And the Boston Red Sox.
The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Yankees.
A three-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Red Sox. And for 100 years, they've battled season after season in the game's greatest rivalry. And in parts of New England, especially in a little place called Connecticut, battle lines are drawn through towns, cities, neighborhoods, and even families. This is one such story of how a young boy from New England, born and bred in a Red Sox family, forged a lifelong bond with the Bronx Bombers, turning his back on the Sox, his father, his sister, and even his own brother. But his love for the Yankees would lead to an even greater love, one that would change this boy's life forever. Hey there, folks. Thanks for listening. I am that boy, the one who started off as a Red Sox fan at a very early age, but who soon saw the light thanks to a rainout, a washed-up superstar in pinstripes, and an egg thrown from the upper deck. To understand it all, we go back to 1967, the year of the Red Sox impossible dream.
Roar winds. Here it comes. Fly ball to deep left. Yastrzemski is going hard. Way back. And he dives and makes a tremendous catch. Carl Yastrzemski. The man we call Yas. We love him. Carl Yastrzemski. What power he has.
The Red Sox, perennial doormats, shocked the baseball world by winning the American League pennant for the first time in more than 20 years. I was 9 years old, living in Fairfield, Connecticut, about an hour outside of New York City, but I got wrapped up in Red Sox pennant fever.
Wow, there it goes again.
But when the Sox lost Game 7 of the World Series, I kicked over a coffee table in anger and locked myself in the bathroom. 9 years old, what do you expect? And something happened to me in that bathroom as I stared into that mirror with bloodshot, tear-filled eyes. A little voice in my head said, "Never again." Now, I was too heartbroken to understand it, but the seeds of dissent had been sown. The next spring, we got tickets to see a Red Sox-Yankees game at Yankee Stadium, and I was thrilled. I was going to go see the Red Sox play in person. But the game got rained out, and my dad, God bless him, got his rain checks, not for a Red Sox-Yankees game, but for a Yankees game against the California Angels. I walked into the stadium that sunny afternoon, entering the ballpark on the lower deck right behind home plate. Who did I see warming up at first base? Mickey Mantle. It was his last year for the Yanks, and he would hit only .237, but he was a living legend. And there he was, right in front of me. Those pinstripes and interlocking N and Y were starting to work their magic on me. There was also the upside-down fence, known to most as the facade on the top of Yankee Stadium, but to me it looked like an upside-down fence. I thought that was really cool. And then, after his in-between innings warm-ups, Yankees right fielder Andy Cosco threw a baseball into the right field stands not far from where we were sitting. I'm thinking, this is the greatest place in the world. Mickey Mantle, the upside-down fence, and Yankees throwing baseballs into the stands. But little did I know my day was about to get even better. Without warning, some lowlife in the upper deck tosses an egg and it hits my sister in the back. Now, I love my sister to this day, but she was 14 and I was 10, so you can understand that dynamic. My father and brother were horrified. They did what they could to comfort her. And all I could think of was, this is the greatest day ever, and I will root for the New York Yankees for the rest of my life. And coming up next, why wasn't my brother transformed on that same day? He was with me at Yankee Stadium the whole time.
I think I was a more fearful child. I was probably afraid of being murdered in the Bronx.
And who was that brown-eyed beauty who ripped a Yankees hat right off the top of my head many years later? I wonder whatever happened to her. And what does my sister have to say about all of this? We'll find out as we continue on Take Me Through. Hey, it's BJ again. I'm having an absolute ball hosting my podcast, and I think you should consider doing your own. Now, don't mimic what I do. Create a show of your own where you can explore your interests, talk about your passions, and talk to interesting people. You can do it for your business, your organization, your neighborhood, yourself, whatever. It's a great way for you to reach out to all kinds of people, and it's an incredibly effective marketing tool. And I want to produce your podcast. Interested? Shoot me an email at bj@takemethroughit.com, or you can find me, BJ Fennell, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So now I'm a Yankees fan. Yankees games are on TV in New York, and I'm living about 60 miles outside of the city, so I get to see the Yanks on TV all the time. So why was I the only one in my family to shift allegiances from the Red Sox to the Yanks? Perhaps my brother Sean has the answer.
Hi there.
Hey there! Sean Fennell.
Hello.
Fans of the show will know him as Ernie from My Three Sons.
Thank you, yes.
In case you missed the previous episodes, and judging by the downloads, you probably did. He's Ernie from My Three Sons.
Luckily,
Long
most
story.
of the people I know don't know that reference anymore, so
That's right.
that's
But now
very
listen,
fortunate.
I have a question.
I
for
still
you.
have the eyeglasses.
When we went to Yankee Stadium to watch the Red Sox play the Yankees, I was fully prepared to root for the Red Sox. The game got rained out. We got a rain check. We saw them play the California Angels.
I don't know why you became a Yankee. I really don't know why. I think it had something to do with the broadcast, because you always listen to the radio, you listen to the Yankees, you like Phil Rizzuto.
Deep to left, that might be a home run. And it is a home run for Fritz Peterson. Holy cow, he's going
What
to
it all
try to
comes
reach
back to for me
the longest time
is, like you said, 1967. I came home from school and our dad was home. And
You
he was
thought
never.
somebody had died.
I thought something is wrong here. Something's happening here. And he was home to see Game 7 of the 1967 World Series. And, that just sort of had an impression on me. It might have been the first time I ever saw something that our father cared about. He was a good man. He cared about a lot of things.
Right.
He just didn't show it very much. So by skipping work early and coming home to watch this game, that left an impression. And I got caught up in the game. I got caught up in the players. And that maybe just always stuck with me. And that is maybe that's why I became a Red Sox fan. I don't know why I would have been expected to abandon them for the Yankees.
Well, that's true, but okay, and that's fine. And I was, and still am, 2 years younger than you. I told the story of walking into Yankee Stadium, blue sky, green grass, blue seats, upside down fence.
Yes.
You know what upside
Yes.
down fence?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the facade,
The
right?
facade, yeah.
And Mickey Mantle taking grounders.
That's pretty
Andy Costco throws the ball into right field in between innings, and then our sister gets hit with an egg thrown by somebody in the upper
And she
deck. It
turns
was
up-
the greatest day of my life. How
and she
come it
turns
didn't
up
have
and she goes, "God damn it!" Which was also learned from our father.
That's right. But I was transformed from a Red Sox fan to a Yankee fan in a course of an hour.
Well, I can understand that because it was our first game, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure just the thrill of being there. These things always had a greater impression upon you than they had on me. Your memory of the detailed memory you have of these things. I just don't have that recollection.
Well, don't ask me where I left my car keys because I have no idea today. Right now, I stand before you right now having no idea where my car keys are. None.
On the other hand,
Wallet,
I
cell
make
phone,
sure
no.
I know where my car keys are every minute of the day because I do not want to be left without that.
And you sure we're related?
And I don't know why it didn't make that impression. It should have. I think I was a more fearful child. I was probably afraid of being murdered in the Bronx. I don't know.
Well, back then, you
was
certainly
smart.
had a greater chance of being murdered in the
It was
Bronx
smart
than
of
you
me to
did.
be aware of
That's
my
right.
surroundings.
But you had never been to Fenway Park. You'd
No,
never
I'd
been
never
to a
been to
baseball
Fenway
game
Park
before in
until-
your life until you saw the
Well,
Yankees
the first
play
time
the
I went
Cowboy
to
Angels.
first time I went to Fenway Park was also with you.
That was a great weekend.
That was a great weekend. It was
But by
without,
then,
it was without our parents.
oh, awesome.
We were old enough. We were 16 and 14, I believe.
Great weekend.
And we don't need to get into the details of that story.
No, we don't. But we went. There was a 3-game series against Baltimore. We went to see all 3 games. But by
Yes.
then, I was thrilled to be there. But by then, I had already been drinking the Yankee Kool-Aid. So
yes,
I think I was
know.
beyond hope.
And the thing is, they weren't any good when you first became fans.
That's why I could never be accused of being a front runner. They were horrible.
I know. Yeah, they were. This were the Rich McKinney years.
Yeah, and Celerino Sanchez and
And Horace Clark, although
Horace
he's
Clark? Horace
legendary. He was
legendary Horace Clark. We loved
legendary.
it. Joe Pepitone, who he
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of those bridge players.
Mhm.
You know, I'm
Oh,
not
he
saying
played
he
bridge?
played bridge. No, but he was on that '64 team that lost the World Series, and then he sort of hung around, and he was one just like Ralph Houck. Ralph Houck, I mean, Ralph Houck won a
Oh, yeah.
World Series with the Yankees in the early '60s. Left, Yogi took over. Yogi got fired, and Johnny Keane was there for a year. And then Houck eventually came back. And my childhood memory of Yankees games were poorly played games that they usually lost, played in front of very few people at the old Yankees Stadium.
Good times. Good times.
And what about Sue, the victim of this tale? The poor 14-year-old girl who was hit on the back with an egg thrown by somebody in the upper deck.
Well, as I recall, I was sitting there enjoying the baseball game when all of a sudden I got hit by an egg in my head.
Was it your head or your back? I thought it was your back.
Well, honestly, I really don't remember.
Did it leave a mark?
None that I have any longer. Of course, that was like 50 years ago. So
Did I? No, I know you're not. Listen, to put it mildly, you're not much of a fan of the New York Yankees. Did that have something to do with it?
I think it really did. I think it really did.
I can't imagine why.
Yes, I think from that day on, I decided it was going to be Red Sox all the way.
And you know what? And I'm sure that was the right decision for you. You end up going to college in Maine. You stayed in Maine. You've been there ever since. So you and the Red Sox seem to be a good fit, and I certainly can't begrudge you for that.
Well, true. And, I've been to many, many Red Sox games, and never have I gotten hit by an egg.
And now we fast forward to 1978. I was sitting in the cafeteria of Brian McMahon Hall on the campus of the University of Connecticut. As I was eating my lunch, minding my own business, I saw a vision. A Mediterranean beauty walking by, carrying her tray and chatting with her friends. I turned to my pal, Bill Didsbury, and I said, "Who's that?" He said, "That is Joan. She's my girlfriend's roommate." The wheels were turning and the wood was burning. I had to figure out a way to see if she would go out with me. Doubtful. And perhaps to find out if she was as thunderstruck with me as I was with her. Even more doubtful. Now, days later, I noticed someone had left a New York Yankees hat in the 3rd floor common area. Whose hat is this, I thought. Not too many Yankees fans in these parts of eastern Connecticut, and some guy told me, "Oh, that's Joan's. She lives on the 6th floor south." I lived on 3rd floor south, so I put that Yankees hat on my head, ran up to the 6th floor, found that girl of my dreams, and asked, "Anybody missing a Yankees hat?" I thought she would hail me a hero. She would come rushing over to me with heartfelt thanks that I had rescued her precious Yankees hat from the great unwashed of Red Sox Nation. Well, not exactly. With eyes, the brownest ones I had ever seen, blazing with anger, she rushed up to me and furiously yanked that Yanks cap right off my head. She turned and stormed out of the room, probably never to be seen again. I was stunned, heartbroken, devastated. I had blown it with this beautiful, sweet young thing. I slinked out of the room, went whimpering down the hallway, and then it hit me. I thought to myself, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I did. Yes, we had that first date. A bunch of us went to Chuck's Steakhouse. Mike Emery's car was so small that she had to sit on my lap in the back seat. She was none too happy about it. But as it turns out, it wasn't just the Yankees that we loved. We loved each other, and still do nearly 40 years later. So many folks to thank for helping out in this episode of Take Me Through It. Mickey Mantle, Phil Rizzuto, my dad for taking us to Yankee Stadium, my brother Sean, my sister Sue for being such a good egg. God damn it! And to that guy who threw said egg from the upper deck almost 50 years ago. Voiceovers provided by Chelsea Norton and Kalini Cannon. Music by iMovie and GarageBand. And our intern is Jonas Havanese. Oh yes, and of course the Vice President in charge of Quality Control, JB. Thanks for listening. Comments and suggestions can be sent to BJ at takemethrough.com. You can also comment on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'm BJ Fennell. Join me next time for Take Me Through It, a production of Fennell Communications, LLC.
Fennell.